the echo cancellation when I have it recording. I don't know why. That's awesome. That's just fucking great. Anyway, so so those of you that may have heard me talking about this over and over again, I think I'm supposed to do it this way. Anyway, um, the reason is because I'm trying to test some of the things that I learned on it, to see if they fly. But I think now, given the sort of the state of chaos we're in, it's also a good topic area to discuss, because a lot of times people sit there and go, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? This is not flying for me. Um, so we'll talk about a couple of different topics in this space. So one of the ways I sort of keep an eye on people and different cultures and how people are feeling is, you can look at Glassdoor, but Glassdoor also has this thing called Fishbowl. It's an app, and you can belong to different feeds like Confession, Career Pivot, Surviving a Toxic Workplace, Startups, even your own company, if you belong in it. And it gives you some insight into, what people are sort of frustrated by or they're looking at. And that's always sort of a helpful, if you're looking for a pulse, if you're a CEO, sometimes that can be bad because you're sort of, people don't go there and say, hey, I love this, it's going well. They go, hey, you know what? Everything's on fire and I wish I, had a fire extinguisher. So, um, at some point, if you can, check it out. I think they have sort of a goofy way that you have to sign into it, but you can find your company's goals or some other goals. And I find it sort of interesting to both post and give. And then you get like, if you do so many posts, you get a coach and, different things in it. And it makes you both think about what you're saying and as a leader and being a leader, right? And when I say leader, I mean all of us leads in some capacity. You can be still in high school and be a lead. It's called a reverse mentoring, or you're leading somebody younger. It doesn't matter. I think we should all sort of keep that in context. It makes us a little more accountable for our behavior. I say that as I have no filter between this and this. Um, so the other thing that I was trying to sort of evaluate when I was going through stuff was, okay, um, it's easy to be incendiary. It's easy to blow stuff up and go, I'll show you. It's not very hard. It is hard to build people with a feeling of trust and hope and the other things that are so ethereal, especially now in this time of our lives or in this space. And so take a look at it. Tell me what you guys think of it. I think it's sort of an interesting pulse on people. It's in some ways sometimes a Slack channel for different cultures and different ideas. It gives me an idea of different things or what's going on in people's heads and why, and different perspectives. I thought was very, very interesting. For instance, on one company's channel, they had a number of different things that have come down over the last month from the current administration, and people though weren't complaining so much about some of the bigger things, bigger things in my mind about contracts closing and stuff like that. They're like, hey, why are we all being asked to take off our pronouns from our emails, and why are we asked to be doing this? Like, and they and I, even as a female, I was just sort of like, I, I didn't feel the same capacity for empathy on that. I was like, I don't care if you put call me a him. I don't. But that's me. That that's me, and I generally don't get misgendered, I guess. Um, if you do, whatever. But that's me, and that's not my fight. So it was interesting to see how much of an issue it was for some people and how much for others it was a I'll show you, bash you in the ground with it. So on both sides, we're sort of angry and fighting about it. Now we have a very different way of doing stuff. And so one of the things that I've been looking at is like, okay, we have a different way of doing stuff. We have a different way of approaching. Um, uh, um, and so hold on, good. Let's read this. Um, so so we're all sort of in this fishbowl together. And I think the idea behind a lot of the people that were seeing stuff in the fishbowl, that I was like, they're like, oh, well, those are government people. That doesn't affect us. That's not going to be our normal, except it is because we are all in this environment and are even, you can talk about globalism or whatever. What happens in our city, whether you're a government person or a commercial person, we have a connection via the way that we spend money, we hire people, we engage with people. So, what happens at one end of the spectrum will affect out here, and in some places more than others. So, keeping that in mind is really important because if you stop thinking about that, it will affect other things. Hi, sweetie, how are you?
Hi.
So, I was getting started early about what I wanted to talk about. So,
No worries. I'll be on mute.
all right, no worries. Okay, so um, yeah, nobody's people are supposed to come, but yeah, it's early. It's hot in here. Should have worn a shorter sleeve shirt. Hold on. All right, there, I turned it up. All right, so I was looking for a slide deck. Where is my normal slide deck? Normal is sitting in the dryer. This one. You have moved it, and you can't find it anymore. There it is. I found it. December 2023. Oh, some of them are huge. Okay. I don't know why I'm not granted access of it on my own slides. All right, I've got them. So, thanks for joining us. Uh, Brad is up flying, he said. So,
Okay, I thought I heard you talking to somebody, so I thought somebody else was in.
no, I was talking to myself. I was going over what I wanted to talk about because one of the things I've been doing is sort of watching what's in Glassdoor's fishbowl
Mm-hmm.
and what people get sort of wound around the axle about. And I thought it was sort of interesting that in this time where like contracts are getting cut down and like people losing their jobs, what I view as something that maybe tertiary is somebody's idea of like, oh my God, this is getting cut off, like the DEI movement on people's email. And people like, oh my God, they said we can't have these on there anymore, and on and on. I was like, dude, people are getting fired. Like, why aren't you worried about that? But that's just an element of that they're focusing on. And what was interesting was how many comments came back and forth, like, and big fights came out about it, and it was really nasty. And I was sort of surprised. So people may think it's gone away, but I think it will continue to be a point of contention for a while. But yeah, people look for anchoring points of what my normal is, right? And my normal is being able to do this. My normal is able to do that. And so, very, very interesting to see how that goes. But also, some people's normal is as we talked about yesterday, somebody said, I refuse to accept your view of how dire things are. And, which is like covering over your ears and going, nah, 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 nah,
Well,
nah, 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 nah.
I don't
So,
agree. I think everyone's experience is relative and truths are truths.
okay.
Direness is not a truth.
Right.
It's not a fundamental thing. The results will be the collapse of Ukraine, if that's what happens, will be a horrific outcome. It won't be something on a scale of how much we worry. How it's being treated and handled is dire. And as I'm seeing from social media, a whole bunch of people feel a whole lot of different ways that surprise me. So
Yeah.
I we don't have a good platform for discourse anymore. We really don't.
Yeah.
In person, online, it's not there. There's no such thing.
Right.
Academics have slipped to the point where people are getting degrees without any form of critical thinking in
Right.
any form. So they're not equipped to evaluate and address facts, which I thought was college's job. One of its jobs was to arm you to address the world. And I'm meeting people who consistently graduated college who have no concept of that or an ability to address the world. So I,
But it happens at work too. You can be taught by like the best Jesuit in the world, and at work they avoid friction points. Like they will tell you like you can't like make
yes,
somebody uncomfortable.
because we've made the workplace incredibly litigious.
Right.
That's why.
Well, I mean,
That's why
I would
it's
say just our life has become litigious.
no workplace has. You asked about
Right.
workplace. Workplace
Yeah.
has. I'm not going to speak to our lives in general. It's a big statement. Work, professional work in America is a very slippery slope, and has been for a while,
Yeah.
without a doubt. And I, as a manager, live within it, and I've grown through it. I can't speak to the challenges of those who came before me, but I can see the challenges coming.
In terms of what?
Dealing with people, value proposition, working hard, putting in the effort, making the company brand matter, understanding that tense situations may mean you're underperforming and accepting that, and being responsible, understanding that not everyone is outstanding and that your work contribution might not have been so. Accepting the fact that other adults come to work and have challenges, and it's not all fixable. You have to work within those challenges. That's
Right.
gone in a lot of places.
Right.
Says
So
me. I mean,
no, I agree. And so and then what happens is we have these funky things called, end of years, right? That look like whatever I pulled out of my ass last week that people care about or don't care about, and then I just load up with the latest buzzwords. But is it the most thing like I guess Sergey Brin is that
mhm,
talked about like Google would also be like a leader in AI if only the people here cared enough to work 60 hours a week. And I was
it's
like,
his company. He can say
yeah,
that. I'm not going
but
to take that from him.
no, I mean, but I mean that's sort of a like if your only view of output is hours in, it's not correct.
It's a view. I don't understand how he got to his productivity claim. Maybe they're not very productive. Also, I know for a fact, talking to several colleagues, and I'm not going to name names, that they were looking at billability and the client wanting to slash roles for the sake of looking good. And they were happily, gladly doing it because they said what the client doesn't know is on a firm fixed price contract, my people aren't billing enough. They're not coming in enough. They have other distractions and they're separate in other projects and they have other excuses not to be at work. So I can cut the slots and no one will even notice. Um, I don't know what brought a manager to say that. I don't know why Sergey Brin said that. I don't know what the analysis was that made him say it. But if there was a real analysis and the work objectives aren't getting hit and the company has set them, the managers have set them and they aren't getting hit and people aren't coming in enough, he can say that. I, Let me just say this. I don't think most people are great and do a great job under the time they're given. I don't. I think there are some people who are rock stars and performers and do amazing stuff, and it doesn't matter if it's 6 hours. I don't think that's most people. I don't hear you. I don't know why you're flashing in and out. I don't hear you. I don't have audio. I don't hear you. No audio. You hear me? I don't hear you at all. And I have audio. I had audio, and I don't have the little audio indicator down in the bottom of your screen. And it keeps flashing. Can you toggle your audio? I'll disconnect and come back.